Steve here coming at you with Banner Knowledge Bowling's next Pro Tip Tuesday. But I have that request. Please subscribe and get a friend to subscribe. That way we can grow the channel and spread the knowledge. Okay, I want to talk about a tip that I do not recommend. And the reason I'm bringing this up was a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on north-south. And it's how I look at the lanes and how I try to make my first adjustment with ball motion. I look at the lanes front to back or north to south, and I try to get that to fit first, and then I look at it east and west or left and right. And that way I feel that if you look at the lanes left and right first, you can trap yourself and maybe not get the correct move. So when I went about that, I got a question, and this is what I do not recommend. So they said, Steve, we're talking about north and south, so what I should do is when I'm not striking, I should move forward on my approach, or I should move back on the approach. And that is not what I'm recommending, because here's what happens. If you are not striking and your adjustment is to move up on the approach so that you begin to strike, what you're essentially doing is you're changing your timing. We're not talking about changing your target line or the break point on the lane. We're talking about changing your timing. Why is that? Well, if I move forward on the approach, most people, so this is most people, will still end up sliding the same distance away from the foul line, whether I move them up a foot or move them back a foot. So they'll take either longer and faster steps if I move them back, or they'll take shorter and smaller steps if I move them forward, and they won't actually change their laydown point. So the adjustment is really a timing adjustment, and that's not what I recommend. What I recommend is one of the five adjustment categories in bowling, which is you can change the ball, you can change your target line, you can change your release, or you could add speed or loft. So those are the only five adjustments that you can make. Now, I guess what we're saying here is you can change your timing, but that's not something that I recommend. If your timing is off, then yes, let's look at that and let's change your timing. But that's not an adjustment to try to knock out the 10 pin if you're not carrying it. So, again, what I'm going to say is if you move forward on the approach, what you're going to do is you're either going to take smaller or slower steps, which is essentially changing your timing. The other thing that happens, and this is the greatest thing with proprioception, if you stand on the back set of dots and look at your target, then stand on the front set of dots and look at your target, get halfway between that and the foul line and look at your target, and then get at the foul line and look at your target. It's going to appear differently because of the way that we see the lane, how close we are to it, and whether we're right eye or left eye dominant. So as we move forward, our proprioception smooths that out. Well, if you have a different starting point, your body is going to say, ooh, wait, something's out of whack. And you're most likely going to adjust subconsciously to end up in the spot that you're comfortable ending up in when you slide. So that's why I say again, that's not the move that I would recommend. Don't move forward or back on the approach to try to make a move to start carrying the 10 pin out, for example. What I would do is do one of the five categories of adjustments to try to make that kind of adjustment to knock out 10 pins. So I hope this made sense. Put your comments and questions below and we'll talk about it. Thanks a lot.